Hello everybody, welcome to my Zone of the Enders 100% easy speedrun in under 30 minutes, done on Xbox Series X. This is a new category that I came up with, tried to figure out what we would call 100% for this game, and the way we've defined it is getting all the sub-weapons in the game and completing all the SOS missions. So that's what we'll be doing in this run. It adds about 45% to the runtime of this run. It's no small thing. We're doing a variation on this strategy for Viola 1, which is literally flying right past her and then turning and then throwing her down. It's very simple. I have experimented with a strategy involving flying straight forward and then throwing her into the ground, but I've had a lot of issues making that consistent for myself. It is like the fastest strategy if you can do it right, but I usually can't do it right in the clutch, so went back to flying past her. Really nice line to the global command. Now we go into the first boss. Really not much to see here. This is just the same any percent easy strat we have seen before. Ideally we have Tempest damage buildings. You want to get buildings damaged here because that will allow us to get a lower rank when we do the SOS for this area. And a lower rank means Sylvie's talks for less amount of time, which is faster. So unfortunately, press start a little bit too early there. I was predicting the cutscene a bit too fast. So this is really nice. So the first sub-weapon we're going to get is the mummy, and you just come back to this area and just fly straight forward, and that is the fastest mummy pickup. It's also really good if you want to have some safety. So the strategy for this fight has changed. What you want to do is burst shot the commander and then do dash shots on the underlings, but sadly the shot did not actually hit. It's weird, like sometimes the shot will connect but it won't deal damage for whatever reason. So sadly that strat did not work out, but that is what you want to do. You want to burst shot into a dash shot into a dash shot, and it's all timed based off of an audio cue. So we fly straight forward here and then just burst shot these two. And then go for burst shots on these folks. Try not to get shot up. Thankfully, because these are level 1s, they're pretty weak, but I accidentally went too early off of this mummy. The cycle isn't super important here, unlike some of the later SOS missions, but obviously we still want to get through this stuff quickly. The nature of this beast of 100% is we're going to be fighting a lot more than on any percent. And so there's more opportunity for weird RNG stuff. So this is where, like, my positioning and timing messed me up because I went for a burst shot that ended up missing. This was not a very good Town 1 SOS. Ideally, that group that we just fought they move in a square, and I was on the bottom left corner of the square. Ideally, they would be at the top right corner of the square. But I still went with this run because there's so much time save on the table. This one is pretty simple. We just fly straight forward and then go for burst shots. Of course, because we're burst shotting, there's the risk that we get that glitch where the burst shot flies through the raptors, and that's just present on every version, as far as I'm aware, unfortunately. It's just something you have to deal with. It's very annoying when it happens. However, there is a variation on that glitch, or I suppose a related glitch, where the burst shot is supposed to be destroyed when you hit a target, but I have had it where the burst shot flies through one target, damages them, and then goes to the next target. It like clips to, which is pretty nice, but I've only seen that happen once. So we get our phalanx here and take out an SOS at the same time. There is a weapon in Town 1, but we will pick that up a little bit later. So this is going to be the same as any percent. Head into Town 2, and then do the billiards of burst shotting for the porter jars. Yeah, it's pretty easy on HD collection because you can see the porters in the distance even though they're supposed to be obscured by the trees. There's graphic issues with this version, even more so on Xbox Series, but it's worth it for the speed. This is the fastest version by far until they finally decide to release a PC version, but I'm not holding my breath on that. You never know though. It'd be nice, but I don't know how much money there really is in it because this is a fairly obscure game at this point. Alright, so we're going into EPS 2. The one thing that's nice about EPS 2 is since we have the mummy, we can heal ourselves if this triple Cyclops fight goes poorly. That's more relevant on the higher difficulties, but still it's a nice little benefit, a nice little perk of this category. Having the sub-weapons is mostly a gift, not a curse. However, this fight is very cursed. This is one of the worst fights in the game on any percent. It still blows on 100% because we really don't have any weapons that are useful here. So I am going to lose time on this split, but that's because in my PB, that fight was essentially perfect. The only thing that was not great about that fight, or this split rather in the PB, was me picking up this javelin. You have to be very careful about this line that you don't run into that level 2 group that we're crossing on the left side. So this is when we pick up the javelin, since it's sort of on the way. It's more on the way than when we do the SOS mission. And I have found, now that I'm doing this side, this is very consistent. This position on easy is so good. It is going to be slower than flying straight ahead, but it does seem more consistent just because of the angle. Sadly, I did not actually connect the slash, so I had to refresh here. And then I started flying the wrong way. This split is where our time loss peaks, and then from here on out we're going to save time. So it's good. So there's no collision when you're shooting the sniper on HD collection. So we can shoot porters through walls, which we did there. It looks like I was just shooting into nothing, but there is a porter behind a canyon wall. This is a very important sequence. You only have room to make 2 mistakes with your sniper. So understanding how to do this sniping sequence is essential. Otherwise, you're going to have to do really slow backups of either picking up the sniper ammo, which takes too much time in my opinion. There's one to your left when you spawn in here. Or physically going to a target and shooting it with, you know, your pew 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 or whatever, going for burst shots. It's not good. But it went alright. We missed one shot. It's okay. So ideally, when you're going through this tunnel sequence, we get halberd off of the mummy coming up, not phalanx, because the halberd lets us do one of the Cyclops faster. Sadly, I did not get the halberd. This is just luck of the draw. RNG is a pretty significant factor in this run between what weapons you get dropped and the fact that there's just more fighting. So even though this run can still be improved, you're always fighting the beast of luck. in situations like this. So in our next fight, what you want to do is have Halberd and just beam this guy, and he's dead in like no time whatsoever. But here, of course, I have to deal with his problems that he gives me. It's okay though. Still save time.
We have obtained the program.
So now we are going to get on out of here. Nothing too out of the ordinary.
We have shot down the enemy.
Same strategies as we would do on any percent. One thing that's worthwhile mentioning is that you, I believe this is true, you end up getting to a higher level on this category at various points than on any percent. I would have to make a real comparison to see, but it does influence how much damage you have to do against certain enemies. So you can make appropriate adjustments based off of that. So this is a really nice backup. So we need this sniper ammo. We need 2 sniper ammo. And if you're on any percent easy and you get the dialogue which halts you, you should go for the sniper ammo there and then go for the raptor body. So that's really nice. That doesn't really apply on any percent normal and very hard unless you're doing backup strats, because you don't need that ammo pickup. But on 100%, we need at least 1 package of sniper ammo, and on easy, you might as well go for both, because sniper is faster taking out the bombs than the gauntlet at the end of the game. So that was a really nice little backup find that applies to any percent. And that's really the beauty of doing runs that are not the run you're used to in a game, because looking at a different category and looking at a different way of playing can force you to rethink how you approached things before.
We have shot down the enemy. We will cease battle position. Oh.
So we pick up both sniper boxes
We have obtained the item.
and head on over to EPS 2, get the detection command, detector command, and then get the gauntlet. There's 2 different ways you can get the gauntlet. It depends on what drops you get. You can either use the phalanx or you can use the halberd. I'm not sure which one is actually faster. I think the phalanx is easier, but it's possible that if you're being completely efficient, the halberd might be faster. I'm not entirely sure about that. This level 5 trolled me. He stood there and then dodged out of the way at the last moment. But I always go for the double burst shot strat on easy, even though sometimes it fails, but it's pretty occasional. Usually he'll take the second burst shot. You don't do that on the higher difficulties, at least not very hard. Can't recall normal. So here we're just gonna phalanx all these porters, and we're gonna get a very good subweapon, arguably the best, depending on the situation. If there's a wall around, the gauntlet is very good. The worst thing about the gauntlet is the windup, but it knocks enemies back and you can knock them into each other. So Town 3, this is the SOS mission that could see the most work. I golded this, but it still is not... I still would not say this was particularly good. I've never had like a Town 3 that I was really satisfied with. But I think the key thing to do, like for this fight, if you can swing it, is use halberd. Like get into position, halberd them. Because the halberd does really good damage if you can set it up. I went for halberd here, and this was a bit of a mistake. It would have been better to go in for a burst slash. Keep in mind, this is like well over a minute of solid fighting. This is
Battle position.
a brutal gauntlet of fighting.
Civilian casualties increasing.
And depending on what your drops are, you might want to use Gauntlet. But at the very least, I think using the Halbert's good. After that group, we go for
We have
these two
obtained the
mummies.
Metatron ore.
I haven't tried using Halbert here, it might be pretty good. The issue, of course, is you don't want these mummies blocking. So here I'm going for Halbert, and look how fast that enemy got taken out. You see what I mean? Like, it can be really good potentially.
Battle position. We will hold battle position.
Problem is, like, when they're too far away,
Enemy backup force is approaching.
you might have an issue of
Enemy backup forces
having to go in for the cleanup if you don't have Gauntlet.
into battle.
Normally I go for this group. This is the one group that's the oddball that goes back and forth in the middle. So you have to think about your cycle. But I kind of did this in a bit of an odd order, which confused me. I was like, wait, where's this group? Where's this group? So you can see, like, even though I golded this, there is still so much time saved on the table. It is a SOS that really demands some experimentation on approach, but I think incorporating more halberd is a good idea.
Many injured and many killed. This was predictable by your capabilities.
It's just hard to optimize what is essentially a all-out gauntlet of fighting. Keep on saying gauntlet, and I forget that there's a sub-weapon in this game, gauntlet. Anyway, so now we're going to do City 2 SOS. This one is quite key because we are one hit from death. So you need to be careful here, you need to position yourself well. And the cycle here is quite demanding.
We have destroyed a portal.
So fly straight up, snipe everything,
We have destroyed a portal.
and
We have destroyed a portal.
your angle here is key, so you can just gauntlet that Cyclops and knock them into the floor. Makes that
Obtained the passcode.
no big deal. The cycle we're trying to hit is the raptors flying back. So we wind up a gauntlet and then aim.
Battle position.
The like little peppering attack that the
Our location.
mummies do is very dangerous, so you need to make sure you're far enough away.
From this battle.
Shout out to the cars.
Damaged buildings. No casualties either.
Look at those beautiful, beautiful cars in the future.
Worst condition. Thank you.
They still love their 90s cars. And by that I mean the 20th century 1990s, not the 2090s. Who knows what cars will look like in 2090.
We have destroyed a portal. We have destroyed
So after
a portal.
doing sniping for other things, this is a breeze.
Into battle. We have destroyed a portal.
Having the gauntlet
Has
here
been released.
for
We will hold battle position.
this encounter is massive. It makes it way less scary because you're just gonna fly in on the ceiling and just knock them into the ceiling,
We have shot down.
the other ceiling, one ceiling to another ceiling. And you know what they say, one man's ceiling is another man's floor. So the thing about this cycle, now that we're so fast, that group is always going to aggro if you get that
We will cease battle
gauntlet
position.
into the ceiling, so just be aware of that.
We have obtained the item.
So now we're going to do the final SOS mission, which really isn't that hard by comparison to the other one, but there's still room for optimization. I've had it where I could gauntlet
Position.
the raptors into each other and take that out real fast.
Enemy backup force is approaching our
It's
location.
tough to do. Again, generally speaking, I'm just going to do my bread and butter
Forces
of
are in battle position.
burst slashing. It's still very strong.
We have shot down the enemy. Enemy backup force is approaching.
It's not that the gauntlet is bad, but it's always about that situation of being able to knock them into each other or into a wall, and that is hard to get going sometimes.
We have obtained the Metatron ore. Mission
So we could have gotten the geyser earlier, but it makes more sense to do it now, since we're gonna kill the group that has the basket.
The attack on the colony shaft has ceased. Risk has been avoided for now.
Well done, Leo. Whew. It's
So
safe.
we go pick it up, and we nearly have all of our weapons. There's just a couple more to go. Geyser is nothing to write home about. As far as the sub-weapons go, we like Comet, Gauntlet, Phalanx, and Halberd. So like here you could potentially Gauntlet the enemies into the wall. What I thought was hilarious is this 5S is so strong. Even when it's red, the Gauntlet on its own doesn't do enough damage, so that wasn't really the right call, but what are you gonna do? This is not a good fight either. If you can swing it, and I think it's a timing and positioning thing, like, this could still be further developed. You can smack those enemies into each other, and it's very good with the Gauntlet, but that still needs some development. And I think it's really a positioning thing at the end of the day. So not the fastest town free, especially with those dang old mummy blocks. We're gonna reuse the Gauntlet here though for this level 5. This is not as reliable as when we had the virus, because the first attack is easy to land, but the second attack, you don't really know what this raptor's gonna do. So I delay a little bit to try to have the raptor get somewhat close to Jehuti, and then hopefully the raptor is compliant and stays right there. Otherwise you're gonna have to do 3 gauntlets. It's still better than going in, at least on easy. So, one nice thing about this fight is because we have Mummy, we can heal the damage that we would take here. And maybe on 100% easy you do this strat just because you can take the damage and heal it back up, which is very nice. Something went wrong either with my... the connection between my brain and my hands was weird here. Like, I thought I clearly charged, but I didn't do the burst shot. Thankfully, I caught my mistake in time. But it was a bit of a time loss, because I just charged but didn't actually burst shot. So if you don't have Comet here, I think it's best to get it now. Because the Comet saves time on the walls, but I would need to like do a very strong timing comparison. When you break the walls, you usually do burst shots at any %, but the Comet takes them out very fast. And then you pick up the decoy, and the first decoy you can see. Speaking of decoys, this is essential. It makes that fight no problem. And you really don't want to fight those enemies normally because they're 5S's, so... And that is the final weapon we need to pick up, the Bounder, which we're not going to use, but that's the bouncy ball that the raptors use. It's not that it's, like... It does good damage, but it's not as good as the Comet in terms of how fast you can shoot them out, and also the Comet homes, and the Bounder bounces, and you get this... It's... You know, maybe we could use the Bounder in the canyon somewhat. Like, I guess that's the implication. So here I made a mistake beyond just missing those walls, those wall hits. You should go for that decoy if you get the Comet early. So I'm going to lose time artificially here because of that, but it's okay. If you wanted to go and not get the Comet early, which I think is the wrong choice, but whatever, you can instead get Comet and Decoy at the very end, where I'm gonna get it now, but you lose time by having more pickups naturally. So there's a bit of a trade-off. But if I was being completely optimal, I should have picked up the Decoy in the tunnel.
We have obtained the item.
But there could still be some development here in the canyon with our extra goodies and our additional levels. So I really like how I've changed the start of Nebula to get the most damage possible. This position is really good. I almost had the fastest Phase 1 Nebula, but sadly the third burst shot missed. I've made adjustments to how I approach this fight to make it a little bit more organic, but it still can be a bit of a problem. So we lose some time here compared to an optimal Phase 1. This is where Phalanx is most useful. This allows us to do a Phase 1 Nebula, or yeah, one cycle rather, a one-cycle Nebula. You just gotta follow, and he taunts and dies like the goober he is. So this should have been a better Nate 2 than it was. I golded it, but I had a chance to really have like basically a perfect Nate, more or less, but I couldn't quite get my rinse repeat going perfectly here. The timing is tough, and I don't normally go for the floor, so that's why that didn't go so well, but it's okay. It still was a solid Nate 2, but it's one of those boss fights where you can always do better. There's always some time save on the table. Okay, so go for same strat. I came up for the higher difficulties here, Decoy and the burst shots, and then make our way to the back, take out the remaining Cyclops. So one thing I think is probably better here is not finishing, you should finish the 5S and not the 4, because I think if I did that, then I could just do one gauntlet on the 4, whereas here I have to do 2 gauntlets on the 5. I'm doing gauntlet because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the mummy blocks, they will still make the hit. So this hub could still be a bit faster. I didn't get like the insta snipe on that bomb. And ideally you're in position here that you don't go for this snipe, you just go for the 6S with the decoy, and you destroy the bomb last, because that's faster than destroying the bomb first due to Ada's dialogue, and then you mummy heal a little bit before zombie Viola. Nothing too exciting here, but if we can make it work, Comet, like a Comet lock, would be faster than throwing Nath repeatedly here, because Comet does a lot of damage very quickly to zombie Nath. And that's a sub 30. Very exciting. So a sub 29 really is possible. Just watching this run, you see there's a lot of possibilities and experimentation. However, it's a really good starting point for this category. It's a fun category. Despite the more RNG, you do see more of the game, and I think that is fun in its own right. And plus there's a lot more room for improvisation and adjustment based off of your familiarity with this game. It just sucks when you try to sub-weapon something and you accidentally grab. That happens a lot more in this category, of course. I've had fun routing this out. I think I'll be going for the higher difficulties as well. Though I do think those runs might be a bit more annoying by comparison. And there we go, 29:52 in-game time. Really nice. Glad to have this sub 30. So thank you all for watching this run and for enjoying Zone of the Enders as much as I do. Hope to see you on the next one. Take care.